We all remember the first time horror got its claws in us. That one scene, that one monster, that one nightmare that stuck. But here's the real question. How do we pass on the thrill to our kids without the trauma? Tonight I'm breaking down how to introduce kids into horror, when to do it and what not to do, so that you can keep watching these horror movies without freaking anybody out or paying for therapy. Let's go. Welcome to a pretty special episode in the Booze and Chill Buzzcast podcast season 6. Today we're focusing on the little ones, on the children. It's a spooky season still, guys. Again, the best season ever. And sometimes the spooky season can be sometimes a little bit too much for certain type of children or kids, if you will. Spooky season, involves, it's in the name, spooky. Some kids can handle it, some kids can't. And when it comes to, at least in my house, I like to watch a lot of horror movies. I'm talking like the classics to whatever. And typically, horror movies consist of, scary shit, dude. It's just scary shit. Um, and the way that I've kind of sort of went about it, because, I'm a huge horror fan. I love horror movies. I love those genres so much. That's like my main go-to genre to watch. So, I kind of had to sort of ease in my kids into watching horror movies. And today that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how we can slowly ease in kids, whether it being your kids or your niece or your nephews or your or whatnot, right? Um, First, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be focusing on that. See what how it is and what we can do to ease in kids to watching horror movies, and you know so you can just enjoy watching them yourself, right? Because there was a time where I couldn't watch horror movies because I mean, I eased my kids into it, but somewhere along the line, as they got a little bit older, they started kind of like getting a little bit more scared, and then it's like, but I think I did things right, but they're starting to come in again, right? And I'll be watching a horror movie, and the thing about my kids is like they can't look away. They can't look away. The best example I can think of is my oldest, Catherine, where she is petrified of Michael Myers, and I don't blame her. She's petrified of Michael Myers, and the way she kind of sort of gone to like sort of like him is because I would watch the Halloween movies, Michael Myers doing his thing, and she's just like she can't look away. But because of that, eventually she slowly started getting to, I guess, like this character. It came to her because I had to explain to her like, oh, he's just a made up character. He's not real. And she's like, oh, okay. So that's kind of sort of how I had to kind of reel her back in to the whole horror genre. But anyways, let's get into this. Um, First thing we're gonna be doing is how to ease them in. Okay, we're gonna talk about a little bit how we can ease the kids in. Uh, Horror movies were, I think, at least at least in this house, but not so much a rite of passage. Well, it kind of sort of are because again, it's kind of uh learning how to go about it, especially again if you're from a household where you just love horror movies. It's a rite of passage here. Um, So parents sometimes consider introducing horror to kids by building resilience to fear, excuse me, in a controlled way. So again, how I did it. We're gonna get into it a little bit here and there. So the way that I went about it, and you can take my advice with a grain of salt. It's not the perfect way, but I think I kind well, this is how I did it. So basically, the way I introduced my kids into spooky stuff, start them small. Like I'm talking like first one, Scooby Doo cartoon animation. It eases them into the spookiness, right? So I first introduced them to Scooby Doo, and I'm talking not so much the show, because I know that they were at the time when they were younger. I'm talking like 1, 2, and stuff like that. They were at age where they're not going to actually sit down and watch an entire show, right? So I was showing the movies, the movies at the time. They were like what, like a one episode long. We're talking like 20, 30 some minutes, probably a little bit over. Um, Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School. It's also one of my favorites. Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, also one of my favorites. And that's kind of how I went about it, showing them spooky stuff through through not the eyes, but the animation, cartoons, and not just there. Not We also showed them episodes, because every single cartoon has a Halloween episode, every single one. So that's what we also did. We showed them like SpongeBob Halloween episodes, Rocket Power. Let me know if you guys are from the 90s, and this is kind of sort of like taking you back. SpongeBob, Rocket Power. What was the other ones? Um, I think I might have shown them a Dexter's Laboratory episode. There was a couple of more, but that's how I went about it. Kind of leaning him in towards spookiness. Because again, um, big horror fan, me and my wife both. So I kind of wanted to be able to watch what I wanted to watch while not scaring my kids at the same time. Another thing, bonding experiences, family traditions, Halloween movie nights, stuff like that, which is exactly what happens here. Every and my kids know, once October comes, it's daddy's turn, because my kids take over our big ass TV in our living room all year long, every day, almost at every hour of the day. But they know now that come October, it's fucking daddy's turn, right? But anyways, yeah, traditions of watching horror movies, or just not necessarily horror movies, just movies in general. But like I said, ever since October 1st came, I have been watching movies, scary horror movies, you name it. While I'm at work, and this is kind of also kind of it's a teamwork effort, especially if you're married and whatnot, you have a partner. This is what my wife does. So while I'm at work, uh, and then when my oldest kid comes back from school, she shows them kid friendly spooky movies. And then daddy comes home from work, and it's my turn. I get to watch my horror movies. So that's another method. And again, this is kind of like a teamwork method. Um, but yeah, that's another way you can actually go about it. Um, and yeah, by bonding experiences, by doing movie traditions with the family, Halloween traditions and stuff, it helps kids process scary feelings safely. Because again, we're talking about how to ease in kids into uh scary stuff, horror movies and stuff. Because again, you kind of sort of this goes back to if you love watching horror movies, and again, how I use myself as an example. I couldn't watch horror movies, and I think this was like as last year or the year before. I couldn't watch horror movies because my kids just went through this phase where they just started getting scared again. Because, they get older, they start getting aware and stuff like that. So, yeah, they start noticing, like, oh, shit, there's a fucking monster on my goddamn TV. And we spoke about this already, how horror movies affect us. how it affects certain adults. Just imagine that on a kid, but multiply that by like what 10. So you have to be a lot more sensitive when it comes to the kids because then you don't want to freak them the fuck out to the point where they can't even be around horror movies playing, or better yet, in a dark room. Because again, that's what horror movies do. They they trigger you in certain ways. So that's another one. Risk if done too early or with the wrong film. Nightmares, phobias, uh, and it disrupts disrupting parents because of kids with nightmares and phobias. Another one, gateway traumas. Everyone has at least one. I have one myself, and I think I I know for a fact that I'm not the only one in this one. I'm talking uh Final Destination. Till this day, I still can't drive next to a goddamn 18-liter that's packing pipes or wood or what have you. That movie fucked up a lot of people in the 90s, dude. And leave it in the comments down below, whether it being the tubes or Spotify. Leave it in the comments. Did Final Destination fuck you up too? Till this day, dude. Till this day, this is no joke. This is no joke. I don't like driving next to tractors that are fucking loaded with pipes and shit like that. That anything that's capable of rolling out of it, I don't like. I don't like it. I don't like it. That movie fucked me up. That movie fucked me up, and that's a perfect example. Um, and I will use another example how I did this to my kids. Maybe it could have been the wrong way. It might have been, but at the same time, this is what I was thinking. So I watched I watched Evil Dead. I think it was with I think it was with both of my kids, but I'm talking like they were tiny, like they were like still infants. So there's no way, and this is my thought process. There was no way in hell that they were gonna even remotely remember anything of the movie. But well, actually, till this day, I think I was actually right about that because they have no clue what Evil Dead even is. But my thought process was like, okay, maybe just showing this as infants and then kind of sort of getting something. I don't even know because even so at the time I think they were still like their eyes are still developing. Totally ran into the mic there. Their eyes are like still developing because there's a certain age where like their eyes completely are able to see. Because if I'm not mistaken, kids or infants, I mean, um, don't have good vision. They only have their nearsighted vision. I think that's what it is, where like they can only see what's up close, that's like inches away from their face. So there was also that. So technically speaking, they only saw blurry, blurry gore, blurry gore. Yeah, blurry gore. So that's kind of what I did. But as they got older and they started, realizing more, started understanding a little bit better, I went for the cartoon stuff, right? Of course, I went to the cartoon stuff and stuff like that. Um, this is this is just small kids, and then now that my oldest is now getting to like a preteen stage, this was the perfect time for her to watch. And this is again, top of my head. We're talking Goosebumps. We're talking, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Freaking, what's another one? There's a movie. Let me know if you've seen this movie before. It's called Monster Squad. Awesome movie. Excellent movie. Stuff like that. and my oldest being a preteen, so I'm introducing her to all this kind of stuff. So it's awesome. It's awesome. Again, let me know in the comments down below. Fans of the Goosebumps series, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Love that shit. Love that show. Let me know if you're fans out there. And yeah, that's just one way to actually go about that. Let's dip into the second thing here now. Uh, Second thing here we're gonna talk about is knowing your kid. Knowing your kid helps a lot. Every child has a different fear tolerance, like I mentioned earlier. Uh, Factors here are age, um, maturity, imagination level, sensitivity, that kind of stuff. And we kind of already touched on in the very beginning. Not a lot of kids will be able to handle uh, that, which is why, how I said in the beginning, starting them off small, baby steps, quite literally. Like show them the cartoons first. Show them the cartoons first, and then you can work your way up too. Like those other ones, like I mentioned, Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Shit, just one that just popped into my head just now, which I also introduced to my kiddos. Big Bad Beetleborgs. Please let me know if you're a fan or if you remember it at all. Big Bad Beetleborgs. It's Big Bad Beetleborgs is in the song. Beetleborgs. Beetleborgs. If you're not familiar with Beetleborgs, they're technically like a much more robotic-y Power Ranger looking superheroes, and their friends are like this ghost that lives in an organ, a werewolf, a Frankenstein, a vampire. There was this other monster that was in the beginning, but then they kind of sort of got rid of him. I think they replaced him with the mummy. But anyways, stuff like that. Just start them off small. Start them small. Um, Signs that they might be ready. And these could be a curiosity about monsters and ghost stories and all that kind of stuff. And again, being from a household loving spooky stuff is just because look at this fucker over here. If you know where he's from, let me know. Put the answer in the comment section. Um, but yeah, but coming from a household where I love spooky, scary everything. Um, my both of my kids right away kind of sort of picked it up. They started, the cucuys, the fantafas. That's a Spanish cute way of saying ghost for my non-Spanish speakers. Um, so yeah, they got this very quickly picked it up and started getting into all that kind of spooky stuff. Um, my oldest is learning how to uh, defeat monsters. Like she now knows that to to defeat a werewolf, you have to use silver bullet. You gotta use silver bullet. That's the only way to kill it. She knows how to defeat vampires, stuff like that. So she's getting into it now. She's getting into it, and I'm loving it as a horror fan, as a horror dad. I'm loving it, dude. Loving it. Another way that you can tell that they're getting interested and ready, they ask to join in when their older cousins or whatnot watch scary stuff. And that's something that me and my oldest daughter have been doing lately. We watch scary YouTube videos. Um, I'm I'm showing her a little bit more higher up stuff, those short horror films. But I kind of sort of uh I've been watching horror stuff for a very long time, so I can like scheme through it. I can tell you like, okay, this might not be for her. Like, okay, there's gonna be something in here. Or I happen to see something in it that's like, okay, maybe this isn't the one. So I skip on to the next one. Stuff like that. But that's another way. Another way is that they laugh at Halloween decorations instead of crying at them. My girls, where my oldest one, she's starting to just kind of like, oh, she loves animatronic. She's fascinated by animatronic. there was a point where another one that just came to me. Another movie to ease in for preteens. This is for preteens, and that would be the Spirit Halloween movie. I'm talking the literal Spirit Halloween store movie. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's perfect for a preteen. That movie in particular did kind of sort of like got her like slightly freaked out. Slightly freaked out. She knows that animatronics are not real. They're just, like moving pieces, practically robots, right? So she understands that. But again, horror movies designed to kind of just freak you up. And she was like she wasn't completely 100% scared. She's like, "Oh, Daddy, the animatronics. Imagine if they moved." But it's starting to get to a point where she's actually able to, joke around about it, and it's like exciting. It's fun to get scared for her now. So that's a one way for them to for you to know the signs when they're ready to get into it like a little bit more, right? So that's fucking fun for me. Now signs that they're not ready. Trouble sleeping. That's the first one. And you're gonna deal with that. You're gonna deal with that. Whether you're doing it the right way or you might have slipped up and they kind of accidentally walked into you watching our movie, or they're doing that thing where they're just like sneaking up on you and they're just watching the scary movie with you, but you don't realize that they are because they're just like hiding behind the door, the crack of the door, and just watching the entire thing with you. And then they can't sleep, and you're wondering like, what did you do or what did you see? That kind of situation. So I think that's the number one. But again, you're gonna have that whether you do things right or not, because easing kids into stuff, especially when it comes to scary stuff, it's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge, I mean, being a parent in general is, but when you try to introduce them to like scary stuff like this, it's gonna be challenging. So trouble sleeping is gonna be the number one thing. I know because we faced it with both our kids. Eventually, they're catching up and they're like, oh, okay, this is all made up. This is they're animatronics. They're fictional characters. And, they start learning. They start learning. Another thing, another way for them, another sign, I mean, to know that your kid is not ready, is overly anxious, clingy, or fearful. Uh, my kids are clingy, but that's just something totally different. Anxious, where like I know when my girls start getting like a little anxious and a little scared is like they're very talkative. They start yapping, 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 and that's when like okay they're nervous. Okay, so you kind of like tone it down a bit and whatnot. Um, Again, I know these are signs that your kids aren't ready, but you can also kind of work your way around that one in particular. Because again, if you know your kids, this is why it's important to know your kids. Um, if you know their triggers, if you can tell when something's wrong with them, and I mean, you're the only one who knows your kids, right? So you would know how to ease things for them, how to make them feel safe again. So again, it's important to know um, your kids. And lastly, a sign that they're not ready. And if they're still struggling with separating fantasy from reality. Again, this is why you have the talk with them. You gotta have the talk, man. Like you can't just show them something and just expect them to just get it, right? They're kids. They don't know, man. You have to sit down and tell them like this is not real. These are fictional characters. This is made up. This is special effects. We've even gone as far as even showing them videos of how they put actors in prosthetics, how the fake blood and all that stuff. We went as far as that, and that's how they're like, oh, that's how they do it. It's not. It's actually a guy in a suit, what have you, right? So you got to sit them down and tell them like this isn't real. This is just this is just storytelling. And this is what they do to make it look scary, to make it look real, to make it um stuff like that. You got to do that to the kids, man. You can't just let them wondering what's real and what's not. That's on you. That's the responsibility on you, man. And again, if you're a horror movie fan, if you want to keep watching horror movies without having to uh in the future having to hire a fucking therapist because your kid can't even fucking be around you because they know that you're gonna fucking be watching something that's gonna fucking trigger them, you need to put in that work, man. You gotta put in that work. But anyways, let's go into the third thing here on how to introduce horror movies to your kids. Another thing, I'm calling this a horror training wheels. Horror training wheels. And this is gonna go back into uh gateways. I'm calling them gateway genres. And I'm gonna bring it up once again. Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo has got mystery, and at the same time, it's got the spooky vibes. Spooky vibes. And the mystery, what I loved about Scooby Doo, a couple of reasons. Besides the fact that it was a fucking talking dog. I mean, come on, dude. It's a talking dog. Anyways, the mystery. It makes your kids think. It gets the ball rolling, man. It's uh it's a way to kind of make them almost forget about the spooky stuff that's happening in the cartoon because they're over here like uh and you got to do again, you got to put in the work. You got to hype them up. You got to be like, "Oh, it's the gang and they ran into this monster, but uh at the same time something got stolen or somebody went missing and they're trying to figure out if it's this person or this person." And they're like, "Well, okay, well, who is it or what's," they're trying to figure out the situation. So they're not 100% on the spooky stuff, but they're seeing the spooky stuff happen as they're trying to figure out this mystery. So that's what I loved about Scooby Doo. Again, other than the fact that it's a fucking talking dog, man. Like, come on. Um, also, also, once they actually caught the the monster, there was always, at least what there was always the unmasking, which you end up finding out that the monster was actually just a person, and that within itself is a message, a really deep message within the Scooby Doo cartoon. And basically, it's like showing that the real monsters among us are us. 'Cause there's horrible people out there in the world, and that's a totally different topic though. But that's kind of the whole message about Scooby Doo. It's like the real monsters are us. We're the only real monsters here amongst ourselves. So that's the beauty about Scooby Doo. I bringing back another one. Goosebumps. Are you afraid of the dark? Um, Again, love those shows. Where man, where my Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark fans? Let me know in the comment box down below. Okay, now movie wise, Caroline. Caroline is freaky, dude. It's freaky dinky. Another classic, Monster House. That's another one. Paranorman. Uh, what's that other one? The one with it's Tim Burton with the dog. Frankenweenie. Freaking Phone with Jack. Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, like, let me know what spooky movie I missed. Put your all's comments down there. What movie did you start your kids with? Another one just came to mind. A Pumpkin Tree. I love that. Beautiful writing, beautiful animation. I'm talking Hanna-Barbera animation. I'm a huge Hanna-Barbera fan. Um, and now let's get into a little bit more. lighter horror comedy. This is also perfect. Gremlins, love Gremlins. Uh, Ghostbusters, uh, Beetlejuice. My girls, well, my oldest Catherine loves Beetlejuice. Um, and this one's like, if you don't know this one, you've been living under a rock. Hocus Pocus. In fact, I think it was just a couple days ago they were watching that. Which one's your favorite? Part one or two? Part one, unbeatable, unbeatable, dude. Part two was pretty. It was all right. It wasn't one, but it was okay. Um. Anyways, and then we can progress a little bit into teen horror. And this one's coming up real soon, guys. This one's coming up real soon. Fucking Stranger Things. Stranger Things. I actually already shown that to my oldest because I watched the entire season again because again, fifth one's coming up, man. Fifth one's coming up. I'm super psyched about that. Scary stories to tell in the dark. That one's a little bit. Actually, no, it's about the same level. Again, this is for teen or preteens. I'm showing my preteen these already. Another one like excuse me, Tremors. Anybody remember Tremors? Kevin Bacon. Anybody? Um, stuff like that. I've even shown her, and well, to be fair, I was watching Chucky even when she was younger, and she loves Chucky. She she loves Chucky. She's had like at least 3 Chucky dolls. She loves Chucky. That guy over here. Um, and then we can get into the full hitting horror movies. Again, this is like baby steps. We're going baby steps here. Um, for the full horror movies, choose something that's not going to be uh over the top. Something not over the top. Maybe something with just a bit of humor and a little less on the gore porn, right? Calling it the gore porn. Um, like for instance, I've shown her Halloween, 1978 Halloween, Michael Myers. It's there's blood in it, but it's not gore porn. It's not gore porn. So that's probably that was my top. That was my top one. That was like the top of my head. I was like, "If I'm gonna watch something that I like, it's gotta be something, something along these lines." And Michael Myers is perfect. He's fucking terrifying, but again, it's not gore porn. It's not too over the top. And the 1978 Halloween Michael Myers movie is awesome. Love it. Love it. Um, Let me know in the comment section down below what other uh horror movie that's not too over the top, has a little small little funness to it, and not gore porn that you would uh that you would show to your kids or have shown to your kids. Leave it in the comments down below. And but yeah, watch it with them though. Don't just drop them in there in the dark and just like here. Don't fucking toss them into the deep end of the pool. Like sit there with them and like I said, explain to them like, "Oh, this is what's happening." Just it's going back to Halloween 1978. Oh, it's just a guy in a mask. He's an actor and this is what he's supposed to do and blah blah blah. Make ease him into it. Like don't don't be that asshole that's just gonna again just leave him in the dark because in that case you're setting yourself up for failure. You are not gonna be able to watch horror movies ever again or until they get over it. And again, you're probably gonna save yourself a lot of money in in therapy. So just do yourself the favor and your kid mostly the favor. Just sit there with them and watch it. You know you're gonna watch them anyways. If you love horror, you're gonna fucking watch it anyways. Let's move on to another little segment number 4 here. The do's and the don'ts. Do's and don'ts. Let's see. First thing that you shouldn't do, uh, don't use horror as punishment. Okay. I mean, I know I've already talked about this, like coming from a Mexican background, you know, uh, the my old time one that I would hear a lot was Va a venir Chucky por ti si no te portas bien. That translates to Chucky's gonna come and get you if you don't behave. So again, this coming from a Mexican background, let me know in the comments down below uh, if anybody out there is from Laredo, if you're watching or listening, and what did they use to scare the shit out of you to settle you down? And besides the chancla and the cinto and all that, let me know down there. Uh, Another one, don't ignore their fear. Validate it. Again, it's going back to explaining to them, um, telling them what's not and what it is and the process. Like I love horror so much that I set my oldest down. I'm gonna have to repeat this for my youngest and the one that's coming up. I sat her down and like again we showed her the how they put on prosthetics, special effect makeup, and all this stuff. Went through it. And I showed her that this is what it is. There's no need to be scared. It's just a really good story, a good scary story. That's all it is. It's not real. Another one is don't show ultra realistic gore or violence too soon. Again, you can ease into it. This is what we're talking about. We're easing into the gore part. We're easing into it. Um, so don't do that. Don't do that. I'm getting closer with my oldest. This is, again, the baby steps, but she's getting there. She's getting there. Another thing is, do not underestimate or rewatch certain movies. Like sometimes the second viewing is scarier. Like if they are watching something with you and you know there's going to be something that maybe it's going to you know be too much, just cover their eyes. Cover their eyes. And don't and make sure they're not peeking because like I said, the second peek could be a little bit more scarier than the first. And that's where the whole having trouble sleeping comes in, all that stuff. So uh don't do that. Don't do that. Um and I think that's the don'ts. That's the don'ts. Let's go into the do's. Let's go into the do's. Um Watch movies together and discuss after. Again, this is how I've been talking about it. How I sat down my kid and explained to her what's real. Well, what's not real, because I mean it's not all real, right? So just watch together. Don't throw them in the deep end of the pool. Watch it with them and discuss afterwards. Again, just normalize it and explain to them what it really truly is. Um, Another thing, uh, explain movie magic, makeup, CGI, practical effects. Again, that's what I did, and it's very very helpful. Not to mention that they might even pick up some stuff here and there. And come Halloween day, they'll have like a fucking kick ass costume because my parents showed me all how to do this, so I thought why not, right? So there's ways. There's good things that come out of them you explaining and showing to them the makeup and CGI and practical effects. Well, not so much the CGI, but the practical effects and the makeup. You get a you get a kid with kick ass costume Halloween scaring the shit out of people. So do that. Um, give them control. If they get too scared, excuse me, need the lights on. Okay, let's put on the light. Just don't put on the light. It's gonna make it hard to see a horror movie because horror movies tend to be dark and with a little bit of light can kind of messes that up. So have a light somewhere uh in the background, just to ease it a little bit more for them. Um, and as far as uh scary movies go, the one thing that gets to absolutely everybody, the jump scares. And the jump scares uh consist of the sound. That's what it is. It's all sound. Of course, the visual, but the sound, it just like it enhances it volumes up so much. So volume it down a little bit, and it'll make things a little bit also easier for them. Also, um, maybe a blanket shield, because you're probably gonna be they're probably gonna be under covers, and then some stuff happens and they do that thing where little kids do, they get under the covers, right? So then you on sort of blackened shield or something along those lines, allow that to happen. Um, and lastly, on the do's, this has this these past three have been do's, and this last one is also do's. The first four were don'ts. Last one on do's is pause if they're overwhelmed. Don't force them. Uh, unless you think that, again, this goes back to knowing your kids. If there's something that scares them, but you know that you can walk them through it, then kudos. But if it's too much for them, then you gotta press the pause and calm the situation down and explain again. This going back, it's all loop here. It's all loop here. Explain to them, talk to them. You got to do that, man. You got to do that. It's your job to do that. Again, it's going out to my horror movie lovers, saving your asses. So, those are the do's and adults. Uh, let's get into a little bit of cultural and psychological layers. Um, horror movies. Why horror movies are different for kids now versus decades ago. Why is that? Well, first off, the practical effects. Practical effects were they were the thing in horror movies back then. There were small, tiny CGIs every now and then, but the practical effects were it. Now we're getting a lot of CGI stuff, which is equally as freaky. Don't get me wrong, but the practical effects were much more realistic looking. But that's just me. But in a kid's mind, we can't exactly tell the difference. So, again, this all goes right back to you having to talk to them and explain to them what's what. Another one is horror as a cultural teaching tool, like with legends, uh, folk tales, stuff like that, which we've covered also here in the video podcast, the La Llorona. I'll go ahead and maybe link that down below if you didn't catch it. And so yeah, it teaches you a little bit of stories again depending what you watch. Like what's a one that kind of sort of plays around with legends. Um I can't think of one at the moment. So that would be up to you. What movie uh kind of circles or focuses on folk tales? Leave it in the comments down below. And another one, there's some psychologists that argue that scary stories kind of sort of help kids. And this is what they think, that they think that they can learn their limits of fear, which again is helpful because there's a saying that goes punch fear in the face, because you can't allow fear to control your life. So by showing them these movies or the genre, it helps them kind of sort of conquer some fears. which again is very helpful for them for development because they'll turn them into little brave adults. So that's one way to go about it or think about. Uh, they gain confidence because they're like, oh, I managed to watch or sit through this entire movie without freaking out or freaking out as much. So it's a big confidence builder. And lastly, it develops empathy, a feeling for the characters. So they start to understand empathy a little bit more. So they actually start, getting in touch with that, and they'll be able to understand, like, even in real life situations, they'll have empathy for real life situations. Um, a little bit more on that, like overstimulation can do. This isn't a bad one. Overstimulation can do long term harm, which is actually true. You don't want to overstimulate them to the point where they're just gonna be just a wreck. So again, take it easy, take it slow, and just have a talk with them. Have a talk with them and tell them everything, everything about it, from the special effects. Again, you don't have to, but this is just how we went about it. But again, this is coming from a really big horror fan, and I want to keep watching them. So I sat them down. First time my oldest, next one up is my youngest, and then the third one coming up. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm sitting down. I'm gonna show them. This is how it's done. This is how it's done. And lastly, let's hear some personal stories. If you made it this far, let's hear some personal stories. Uh, let's see. How did well, share your own story. What horror movie story do you have? Or better yet, how did you get introduced to horror? Or if you have kids, how did you go about it of easing them into horror? Or if you don't have kids, uh, your nieces, your nephew, and whatnot, your stepkids, or what have you, how did you go about it? Um, Funny, traumatic stories. Uh, these also can also help when it comes to um, just tying them into it, just tying them into it, because you can, I don't know, like I mentioned one in the last video podcast where I was watching the Taking a Deborah Logan with my wife and several of their nieces. One of the nieces got so scared that stay up with her, but kind of like sort of talking, joking around, again, it brings connection. It brings connection. And I'm gonna go ahead and link that video podcast in the description as well. And yeah, just make things a little less scary, and bring up some funny things. 'Cause I tend to not be loud, but I do tend to say some things during the movies. Um, and ask, I'm sorry, what was your horror gateway film, and did it scar you or make you love the genre? I'm gonna wrap that up with that. Let me know what um what was your horror movie that really hit you, that really hit you. Um, but that's pretty much it for that, guys. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around this far, and I will catch you guys in the next one. And lastly, before we go, I want to go ahead and put this out there once again. If you have a true story, true encounter story, go ahead and send it in via video and or audio. so we can share it here in the Booze and Chill Buzzcast podcast in the following episode. Trying to see if we can maybe collect a few so we can really spook things up in this spooky season. But that's it for that. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. And remember, if you keep watching, I'm gonna keep drinking. I mean, I wasn't drinking for this one, but you know what I mean. It's Booze and Chill. Booze and Chill. That's it for that, guys. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one. Peace.